Hey guys, how's it going? It's DJ again. We're back with the Culture War, and I have Shawnee with me again.
Hey.
So, Amazon Studios has dropped their diversity and quality equity, because it's not equality, equity and inclusion policy that they're going to be working on, and it's basically tokenism and quotas and just not actually it's not a focus of people trying to make the best possible story, but it's a focus on what everything looks like superficially. What is probably going to happen is you're going to have a lot of really bad properties being created, bad stories, and we will have a dearth of we'll have a lack of quality entertainment for a while in the West, which is what I'm seeing as Amazon pushes. You know, Amazon was trying to buy Paramount. I believe they were trying to buy.
Paramount's in
bad.
With
Lion Studios.
If it's Paramount is kind of, it looks like they're in a bad shape because they're basically trying to bribe people to buy Paramount Plus for 99 cents for 2 months.
I think it was Paramount. I can't fully remember.
Pretty bad.
Put a screenshot.
And they tried to get the gay people to buy into Paramount Plus, so they put Drag Race on there. They put All Stars on there.
Trying to get that money, man.
I'm like, I will be pirating that.
Oh no.
I'm not watching.
You can't say that.
I'm not gonna watch that on Paramount Plus. What Amazon's doing here just sounds like a bunch of crap. This is just absolute dumb. So many quotas, so many ridiculous quotas at that too, and it's gonna lead to a lot of really crappy stories, a lot of basically only racially and gender-based stories, and it's gonna be bad. And there's gonna be a lot of bad acting. It looks like a lot of bad acting. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of bad directing, bad production. Because if you're just hiring people basically off their skin color, you're gonna basically hire any Joe Schmo off the street because hey, they check your box. So this is not good. And for the normal people who don't see this stuff beforehand, they're gonna start seeing this rollout of these really crappy stories, and they're gonna be like, yeah, no, I don't want any of that.
So I'll just read the summary, and then we'll go through a couple points within the different policy page. There's a policy playbook, which we're a policy page that we're on now, inclusion playbook page, and then a story page. But I'm just going to take out a couple things from reading through because it's actually pretty long. So if you want to read through it, if you want to see what they're saying, I will link at least the main page, and then you can go from there if you want to see what they're talking about. So basically the whole point is the whole point of this is they want to aim for first by seeking out stories that amplify voices of characters across races, ethnicities, nationalities, sexual orientations, ages, blah 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 blah. To those ends, they've developed a new policy. And second, by bringing these often unrepresented and misrepresented characters to life in inclusive production environment. If you go through this whole thing, you'll notice there is superficial. Most of it talks about just, like I said, quotas and things like that, and they'll briefly touch on a story is our utmost important. What we're looking towards. That is the most important thing here is story. But everything else they're doing, it sounds like they're trying to put people that have quotas, people that don't necessarily deserve the positions they're going to be in, people that are just there to be tokens and just there to be for Amazon to say how inclusive they are as a company, rather than for the actual quality of the work and actually have people there that'll produce quality work. So as we go, stereotyping, we discourage stories that solely depict harmful or negative stereotypes, slurs, and dehumanizing language. And then when I was reading the stereotyping, I was like, so you do realize there would be times where you might have to make a character that is kind of a stereotype based off of the story that you're trying to tell.
But they're not going to tell stories to where the character that's, say, like someone who's LGBTQ plus, or they're Hispanic or they're black or they're native, they're not going to make them a stereotype. They're only going to make white people a stereotype.
They're probably going to make those people stereotypes, because remember, we've watched like stuff where they've said, oh, we're trying to be inclusive and whatnot, and then those token characters, because they have nothing to do and they're not really there for any purpose, they become stereotypes.
Well, basically these stories wouldn't be told from a view of that these characters would be token. The whole entire story and the characters would be ethnic, and the token characters would be like a token white person.
But look how we've seen like different shows where that was the goal, but they ended up not meeting that goal.
I feel like this time, with this, they'll go so far in the other direction of making it be like straight up white people are the stereotype and everybody else here. It's still going to be bad, because these are going to be poorly written characters, because they're going to be basically only written around their ethnicity or their sexual orientation or their gender. It's not going to be about them as a character and a person. It's just going to be
so there'll be stereotypes.
The shell.
They'll end up being stereotyped, because when you don't make characters actually have characteristics that are unique, they end up falling in predetermined boxes. So all of these characters, I feel, will end up being put in those predetermined boxes in one way or another. So in reality, to me, they're all going to be stereotypes, except some are going to be more, they're going to try to lean on the more positive aspects of those stereotypes, and other them are going to be the more negative at most. And some of them will be blank characters, so they'll just be stereotypes. And then I also thought about like, okay, so if you go to the next line, they talk about historical depictions. So in some historical depictions, you may have to stereotype people based off of these historical descriptions. Like if you talk about like the Jim Crow South, you have to be a little hammy when you talk about certain people and their attitudes towards other groups of people, like racists, whites, and against blacks. So they say the content that features out-of-date historical stereotypes, languages, and iconography must avoid gratuitous use of such portrayals. So I'm like, how can you? What's the line of gratuitous? And then they say, okay, so cultural authenticity. When series regulars or lead characters portray people from unrepresented communities, women, unrepresented racial, ethnic groups, blah, blah, blah. And then they go and we'll aim for 30% of the above line staff to meet this goal in 2021. And then by 2024, they're going to be 50%, or at least try to hit 50%. Yeah, like on occasion, when it is not possible, producers must indicate how they will identify and hire outside consultants, vendors approved by Amazon to provide cultural relevant expertise. And what's funny was we talked about people that they're going to white people are going to have to end up suing Amazon Studios a bunch of times, because this is pretty ridiculous that they're forcing people to do any of this stuff. And then what's wild too is like this whole thing of like it's superficial diversity, in the sense that if say there's a situation like a Black Panther where the cast is mostly black, they're gonna call that diverse when it's not diverse. Or like Olympic Heights, or is it called Olympic Heights, whatever that movie, In the Heights, that movie, where it's just gonna be all his mainly Hispanic people. It's not going to have a lot of diversity otherwise.
Especially considering that it's supposed to be about like this borough. It's either a borough or like a block where it's primarily Hispanic people that live there. So, and then they're already saying that one wasn't inclusive enough.
Apparently a lot of people that live in that Heights place, a lot of them are Afro Latino, and they're Dominican specifically, which they're like most Dominicans are Afro Latino. So they're just infighting with each other. So casting, this is I just chuckled when I saw this, because again, you can't instill quotas and then say, well, the story comes first, while the only way for your production to get produced by us is they're gonna need to have a certain amount of black people, a certain amount of women, a certain amount, and so on and so forth. But the story comes first. So if a story is really good, and it says the inclusion probably recommends casting characters from all backgrounds as long as it does not compromise the authenticity of the narrative. So if the story is good, and say it's all white people, I really doubt that Amazon is going to want to put that on their on their platform.
More than likely not. They probably won't. They'll probably change it to where it's like they'll swap out the characters.
They'll start swapping out. They said, we'll swap out. You swap out some
we'll
characters.
Start race swapping characters.
And, we got you if you do that. Authentic portrayals is our intention whenever possible to cast actors whose identities and roles align with the identity of character they're playing. This is going to be a bunch of bullshit too. They're just going to change to whatever character they're playing from what they were initially, and God forbid if it has source material, they're going to try and change a character that either you don't necessarily know about or will care about into whatever race or nationality or whatever to meet their quota. So.
Like if they did a live action Sonic and they decided to make Knuckles black because they feel Knuckles is coded to be black.
It's coded to be black because he has dreads. Oh yeah, word.
Like he's a freaking echidna. Like what are you guys talking about?
Yeah, and then they keep going. So essentially, this is just all. You have this quota. Look at all these just percentages. You have 30% women, 30% members of unrepresented racial groups, 50% increasing the goal to 50% by 2024. Over here, most productions have a multitude of speaking roles from lead roles, so they want more speaking roles to be across. They said the minimal aspiration goal for casting across speaking roles are 30% white, 30% white women, and non-binary people, 20% men from unrepresented races and ethnicities, 20% women and non-binary. It's just all percentages. Like we just boil down people to percentages. We aspire to cast at least 10% of our roles with people who are lesbian, 10% of people who are self-identify as persons with disabilities. Why keep it at 10%? Why not 15%? Why not 20%?
I have to wonder, like, what did they do to get to these numbers? Did they put this in like a number generator or something? Like, how did they get to this point?
I don't know. It's just I'm assuming.
Do they feel like this is the most fair amount for each of these
per
groups?
unrepresented group? I'm assuming so, based off of how many people, based off of how they view these people as unrepresented groups and how easy it might be to get people to actually play these roles somewhat effectively. And how much of an outcry there is, because mainly all of this is because of outcry and people complaining about it,
right? More
so than this company actually wanting to do it, because they don't want to do this because it's the good thing to do. They just do it. That's why they have all these percentages. Because if they really were trying to create and make different characters, different stories representing different people, they just do it. And it wouldn't matter who's making it. It wouldn't matter how who is behind the scenes. They just make it, and they try to get the best people to make it, and they would try to merit, but apparently meritocracy is akin to whiteness and some that's a whole nother time. So, and then behind the camera, so all of these are just roles, below the line roles. Oh, they even talk about below the line roles, secondary people. 30%. Yeah, like they just, that's all it is.
Cultivate an inclusive environment. I have to wonder, like, I'm like, what do you guys mean by an inclusive environment?
Right. Company policies prohibit harassment, retaliation, microaggressions. Which microaggressions you can never.
That's subjective.
It's so subjective, and you don't know exactly what microaggressions really going to set people off.
Subjective.
You might as well just not talk to each other
at that point. Because there are so many people who think everything's a microaggression. Like you say hi to someone and they don't say hi loud enough back to you. That's a microaggression.
We know clowns like that.
Yeah,
we know one clown specifically like that.
Yeah, you see those microaggressions? What are you talking about, man? Microaggressions.
And then please remember, in all hiring and particular employment discussions may not be had on the basis of individuals' race, color, age. I was like, then
but
all of that up there can't work.
Your whole like in diversity and inclusivity and equity plan is completely
based off of sexuality, race, gender.
You've basically you ever see a snake eat itself? I feel like that's a perfect example for these people and the ideology.
The ideology of leftists are just circular, and it doesn't make sense. It's contradictory.
It doesn't make any sense.
So let's look at the inclusion playbook. So we'll just go over this real quick, and it says inclusive storytelling, hiring behind. So these go in more detail of the different things in the policy we're talking about. So the storytelling. Let's see. Script-based descriptions and stereotypes. The way that characters are described in a script can evoke stereotypes for casting directors, breaking down services, and even those reading for the part. Consider the following when describing characters in your script. Is there a reason to specify a character's gender, race, ethnicity, LGBTQ plus identity, or disability in the script? Does the source material specify a character's identity in any way? Are you deviating from that depiction? Why or why not?
I mean,
And this only matters in one way.
yeah.
The deviation only matters in one way.
Because I'm so confused as to like what they're saying. Why have you specified this for a character?
They're doing that because in your script, if you make your script more ambiguous, or you write stories that are ambiguous in terms of the characters that you're writing for, it makes it easier to plug and play people.
Right.
And it makes it easier for their diversity initiative, because this way they don't have necessarily hard-coded signifiers like that in the script. You know, they can just pick and choose or whatever they want. It makes it easier for them, basically. That's my take on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I can get that. Yeah, I get that. I'm just kind of like, what if you have somebody who has a script who's specifically like, I want this X person thing or whatever.
Oh, you see, it tells you why. Why?
Now you have to explain it.
Why?
You have to apparently give your explanation as to why. And I'm like,
why?
You gonna pick up this pilot, the screenplay, or not? Like, it's a yes or a no. I don't. Like,
Are these places where you should specify information about characters' background or identity, gender identity, race, sexual orientation, gender expression, or disability to help with casting? Consider sharing this information only if it is needed for the story. But again, if my story, it just seems like they're trying, like, don't do this, please don't do this.
It says we recommend writers be specific and authentic in their descriptions to help casting directors and those reading for the part avoid harmful stereotypes. And I'm like,
but
so
you
just basically are like, don't if you're gonna specify, we don't really want you to, pick a character that's a certain gender or certain sexuality, and then if you pick another one, you have to tell us why, and then say we recommend that they be specific. I don't know how to
authentic
in
their descriptions.
Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, this just sounds like you're putting all these stipulations on people who are writing or creating.
Ooh, this was my favorite part. Continue.
You're putting all these stipulations for people who are writing and creating, and you're putting people in a box of, you can only create this percentage of characters in your story to be this way and the other way. And it's like, at this point, is the person who created the story even writing it anymore, or are you guys just writing it and just telling them?
They're trying to nudge people to go in a certain direction, basically. That's what I'm getting from this.
I'm not gonna lie. As someone who would be, if I was someone who, as a screenwriter, I'd be really disheartened to go to one of these networks to see if I can get my work, brought to life. Because if it's gonna be my ideas of who I want to be part of this story, or what I pictured my characters to look like versus what they want my characters to look like, and then I gotta change everything because of what they want. Like, say I do want this. I have this character who's just some degular white guy, and you're gonna tell me I need to make him a Native American man, and I'm like, but that's not how I pictured him when I wrote him.
You were too descriptive.
Apparently,
but not descriptive enough.
Yeah.
you didn't describe it the way we wanted you to. You messed up.
Yikes.
We got to go back to the drawing board.
Yikes.
All right, so this one it's great. Personality traits. The description of character's personality or sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. Distinctive traits may lead to Appearance related stereotypes. Sometimes character descriptions are written in a way that draws upon stereotypes or tropes. This is particularly likely when writing women characters or individuals from underrepresented racial groups. So then they say, are you describing a woman's personality in a way that leads to assumptions about their sexuality? For example, are descriptions such as the girl next door used for the character?
But there's nothing, I mean, we know what the girl next door character is like. And it's not saying the girl next door character has to be a virgin. The girl next door character is just
or straight.
Or straight for that matter too. The girl next door character is just a character trope of, you know, she's down to earth. She's really friendly. She's quite unassuming. You know, that's really what it is. So I'm a little confused.
Not gay enough. Be
so.
sure that your character descriptions do not evoke stereotypes related to women of color. Avoid using the term exotic, feisty, sassy, and other words stereotypically used to refer to underrepresented women. It's better to be specific. IG, the lead is from Puerto Rico, loves to sing, and has a big group of friends.
But that tells me nothing about the character. Not really. This tells me nothing about this character's personality. This tells me nothing really about the character outside of where they're from, one of their hobbies, and that they have a large friend group.
They might be social.
There might be social. Because you could also be like, you could have a big group of friends, but you could also be the quiet friend.
Yeah.
Like there's people.
Because you can know a lot of people and just be kind of
be the more like reserved friend.
Yeah.
So, but this example here tells me nothing about this character. What you're saying to me is you want a plank. Is you
want cardboard.
You want cardboard, and at that point, cast homegirl from Brie Larson in everything.
I know what you were thinking.
Yes, you want a plank. You want complete and utter cardboard. Cast Brie Larson. There you go. Problem solved.
For LGBTQ plus women, ensure that personality traits don't play to stereotypes either about femininity or masculinity or over sexualization.
I'm kind of like, I'm so confused because it's like they think that
lesbians can't be sexual, bro.
Apparently they think that these women should only be a certain way. It's like how when they said Ruby Rose is too pretty to be, when they said she was too pretty to be like just a full, like a lesbian.
Yeah.
And then they felt that she wasn't LGBTQ plus enough because she's bisexual.
Yeah.
Or at least she says she's bisexual to, you know, for Batwoman.
Which is why I was saying earlier that these characters are still going to be stereotypes. Even the characters that they want are going to be are going to be stereotypes because they're going to limit them into what that they can be. They're not going to actually make them a full fleshed out character that's different from, say, Joe Blow down the street. It's going to be just look how generic these things are. Don't say someone's feisty. And then they conflate exotic, feisty, and sassy. Like these are all three in the same realm of maybe bad descriptors.
And they make it seem as though you could only use those words to
describe black people.
Women. Yeah. And
we know that's what they mean.
Yeah.
We know they mean black women in this. And point number 2 here.
Just like, what?
So yeah, consider asking the following questions. Writing about romantic partners are women from all backgrounds and experiences defined solely by their relationship or their relationship desires. Are men shown as dominating relationships or shown in romantic partnerships that revolve around their jobs and or the demands of their work?
What?
Like, for instance, I think I know what they're saying in number 2. Like, if a dude, they're essentially they have a job and their job. How can I describe this? Because I know in my head,
like their job keeps them away from home.
Yes, stuff like that.
Like, okay,
like
so
it keeps them from being as romantic as they should.
It's like
be.
the stereotypical, like, husband works all the time, his wife doesn't work, and she's all like,
or it keeps them away from their family,
right?
Or it keeps them away from their kids.
But there are people who work jobs like that, men and women. Like that's not like that's real life. That's not just not what like. I'm like reading this and I'm like, what are we talking about?
And in the background, the women from all backgrounds experience defined solely by their relationship or relationship desires. So your rom-coms, your female rom-coms, can't have those anymore. All of those are out the window.
Yeah. Like, I just have to wonder, like, what exactly are these movies supposed to be about? Like,
The movies or shows, I have no idea. Are there opportunities to include LGBTQ romantic partners in the story? Even if you're not able to depict a romantic partner, could your character refer to their relational partners in the script? So basically, if it doesn't matter that they're, say, LGBTQ, because I'm only saying that because they're specifically referencing someone, a part of that group. If their story arc doesn't include them being sexual or needing to refer to their sexuality in any way, make sure you refer to their sexuality in some way. If they don't have a partner in your script, make sure you say, well, their partner isn't in the movie, but
so
it's around.
So
they're
it's
around.
It's supposed to be the good old, as a lesbian.
Yes,
or
yeah.
As a gay man. Like why did you set it up like that? Like, if you're talking to your friends, they would already know these things about you.
Yeah. Or like they're just talking and they're like, my life partner is away on a vocational trip to Saudi Arabia or something. I don't know.
They don't want to really say life partner because if they're like heterosexual couples, like people don't get married and they spend they call them.
But I was just trying to say something stereotypical.
Because I started noticing a lot of people are like, oh, my partner, and I'm like,
well, life partner, it would imply that you're trying to be with that person for life. While partner,
some people, I've heard a lot of people in the past like 3-4 years, instead of saying like my boyfriend or my girlfriend, say my partner, and I'm like,
well, it's gender neutral. There you go.
That's okay, because I figured that's what it was, but I'm like,
it's gender inclusive.
And I'm like, but fuck that shit. I'm saying it straight up. My boyfriend. I don't talk to nobody and say my partner.
So, I mean, it keeps going. And I just wanted to talk about a couple things in there. But like, and then the parents and caregivers. Are there LGBTQ parents? Are there non-binary characters as parents? Are there characters with disabilities as parents? Consider all of these things when writing your script.
Are men presented as inept, shown as parent, when shown as parents or caregivers? Oh, they actually care about that?
Interesting.
That's actually really interesting because most movies and most TV shows typically show men as being inept when it comes to caring for the children. But
I feel like they only care about it. They only care about that if it's like a gay man.
Maybe. I guess it's because like the trope, I mean, it's weird because the trope really does have real life connotations, because you do have men who, because they tend to not be the primary caregiver at home,
or they never have done that,
they tend to be more like inept when it comes to the kids. But it's not that they're bad parents by any means. They're not bad dads. They just, do dad shit. Like Drew Brees coming home from a game after his wife got his children ready for bed and comes home from the game and then rouses them up playing football in the living room. And she's like, I literally just got them ready for bed. Everybody's had a bath. Their teeth have been brushed. They're in their pajamas. We have been winding down for bedtime. And here comes Drew Brees.
Was all right. Let's roughhousing that.
Typical dad.
That was funny.
Typical dad stuff. But
she was so mad.
Yeah, his wife did look really upset because she was like, I worked so hard to get them to this point before you came home, and now look at them. They're gonna be up for another 2 hours. And I mean, I get it because I've seen it firsthand. With right now, my cousin is staying with me with her 5-year-old, and say we get her 5-year-old ready for bed, and then DJ comes over and uncle, she all over the place.
And I'm not riling her up.
And he's not purposely riling her up, but he's known as the fun adult. So of course, just his presence alone is like, yes. And of course, because she's in a house full of women, so he's the only man coming in, and she's treating him like a jungle gym because she can't treat the rest of us like jungle gyms. So next thing you know, she's all over the place, and she's up for another hour or two.
She's climbing on me, jumping off of me.
And I'm like,
Pick me up.
This is just the gravity that men with children and dads have. You guys just have that fun gravity, and I mean, it's fine.
I don't mean to do it either.
It's fine.
I think it's just because, a lot of men, they're a lot more willing to do that rough and tumble play with like their kids and which is important. That's an
you guys
important part of
A
play.
lot of y'all are actually bigger and stronger. You are literally, out of all of us, the biggest and the strongest to be able to do all that. So yeah, she can't climb on me with all of I'm 5 foot even. She's like half my height at 5. So
I just got to make sure she doesn't climb on my left, because my shoulder. So as long as she don't climb over there, we good.
But I'm just like, I just thought I think that little piece there is really interesting, because then I'm like, are they going to start doing like movies with like heterosexual dads, like not being dummies about their kids?
I doubt it, but hey, hey. And then so we're going to just talk about these two real quick for Black characters and Latinx characters. So we're going to drop that. We're going to end it because we're getting towards 30 minutes. So, we're past 30 minutes. So for Black characters, are they shown in connection to violence, either as perpetrators or victims, particularly gang violence? Don't talk about that. Are they linked to storylines that focus on drugs or addiction or sexual promiscuity? Are they shown as members of family unit in ways that don't center broken homes, single parents, or other aspects of family life that foreground difficulty rather than joy? Are they presented in positions that are linked to entertaining others? Don't be a comedian. Don't be a singer.
I think they.
No,
yeah,
presented in positions that are linked to entertaining others.
And I'm like,
Overall, in your story, are they primarily dealing with hardships and difficulties that are linked to their race and ethnicity rather than their plot? I mean, this is for the woke people, because that's what they like to depict Black people as they say they're not racist and they understand stories. So,
I mean, these are all things that are real life happening in the community. So I'm kind of like,
but they don't want you to talk about real life things happening,
especially dealing
in the
with
community.
hardships and difficulties. I mean,
well, people go through that in general.
In general,
a lot of stories, a lot of good stories show people overcoming these hardships and struggles. So it's.
So I'm like, are they saying like they can't have like a hardship, like a normal hardship, or are they saying it cannot have anything to do with the fact with their race? Which, I mean, I guess it's fine. We don't need any more series or movies about Black people just having it hard because they're Black. So I mean, if it's like, say somebody's, a struggling artist, but they're struggling because they are going through like a writer's block or like an art block kind of deal. Cool. Someone struggling to find themselves, and not because they live in the hood, but just because they themselves are dealing with this internal struggle. Yeah. Fine. But it's just kind of like, why are we setting these, like, why do you have to set these parameters? It's not necessary.
Because woke people can only write Black people in one vein.
And the sexual promiscuity thing is just really funny to me personally.
Because a lot of Black women, especially you see Black women on the internet complain about how they depict Black women as inherently sexual. They say they're overtly sexual.
But then you've got people like, what's her name there from She's Gotta Have It, who dead ass was like, oh, well, I want it all.
Look, at one point, you can't have it your cake and eat it too. You can't have stories where it's sexual liberating and women get to be sexually liberated. There we go.
That's more so. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And then turn around and be like, well, Black women are shown as extra promiscuous. Yeah. Those exotic women are just they just like the we can't show that.
Oh, jeez.
It's a lot of boxes, and this is the issue that I'm having.
Same thing. They put the same thing as, are they shown as sneaky, sly, or scheming? Are they overly sexualized? Like, it's the same thing down here for Hispanic characters. And then they've got for Asians, are men shown in a way that minimizes their sexuality or desirability as a romantic partner?
Are there like...
This include fulfilling the stereotype of a geek who is primarily interested in technology, math, or sciences.
And then you got Middle Eastern characters, Native. So yeah, just go through that. It's a lot of, well, why are you writing your characters like that, or why are they like this? Instead of make a good story, make good characters. Try to get stories from a bunch of different types of people, because you can. Because Hollywood does have a problem of they have a core set of people that they might get ideas and stuff from industry folk, and they don't go out to find fresh talent. But that seems to be an issue in a lot of industries. People get comfortable, people get entrenched. They don't really look outside of that bubble.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in all honesty, it doesn't need to be all of this. And it just seems like you're putting a lot of roadblocks in the way for people, and it won't actually, help you. Because these roadblocks seem like they're going to get in the way of actually creating something positive or good. good, I should say. Something good. What you
I'm just looking at the one for Hispanics and Asians. I'm just like, whoa, what in the heck? So it's just, this is just really wild. I'm not gonna lie. If I was somebody who was a screenwriter, or if, I had a story that I wanted to tell and bring it to a network to create, I really wouldn't want to take it to Amazon.
I mean, this is not the first time this happened. The BBC is doing something similar.
Yeah, I remember
and then their hiring practices and their creative practices. So you're gonna see, like I said in the beginning, there's gonna be a situation where the West just doesn't produce anything good, or what they produce is good is far in between of all the bad that you're gonna see.
Hey, thank God for anime.
Hey man, I'm good on it. Anime, manga, I'm good.
Yep.
All right, thank you guys for listening. Again, links would be in the description. Oh man, I'm really tongue tied today. Links would be in the description, and also my links to my other platforms such as Odyssey and BitChute and Minds. And I will get a Twitter, and I keep not doing it. I'm debating on whether to use my personal or just make a new one. Thinking about just using my personal one, to be honest with you. Like, I don't care at this point, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah. So thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if you like the content I'm putting out. And yeah, bye.
See ya.